A thing of beauty is a joy forever. So it is a poem by John Keats. It's a class 12 poem of your Flamingo book. Okay, so before starting the poem, I'll just introduce you to the basic theme that runs through the poem, which is beauty. So John Keats is a romantic poet. When you write the answer, remember it's a romantic poet. Now, romantic here doesn't mean the love between a man and a woman, but rather it means love between the nature and the man. So there can be beauty around in everything, in nature's every little creation, God's every little creation. So a tree could be beautiful, a leaf could be beautiful, and the man can see beauty in anything. And the love of the man towards those natured things around us can be a form of a lot of pleasure that gives a man a lot of serenity, a lot of peace that's around us. So here John Keats is a worshipper of beauty. Now he sees beauty in everything. Small, from very small to a very big thing, he can see beauty in everything, from the birth to the death to the decay of anything. So the beauty surrounds everything. So let's begin the poem. Let's read stanza by stanza and we shall go through the poem by that. Okay. So, a thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases, it will never pass into nothingness, but still will keep a borrower quiet for us, and a sleep full of sweet dreams. So, in the first 4 lines, he is actually describing that the beauty is always everlasting. It leaves everlasting effect on the human mind. There is the beauty of anything per se that is so transient, because it will never leave. So it will never change into nothingness. We can find a human mind can find beauty in anything and everything if the person wants. So when he says that it will pass into nothingness, it will never pass into nothingness. So it will never fade away. There will be no time where it will be fading entire beauty into just simple words. There will be beauty every time creating in certain number of things, in any number of objects, and that will provide joy to a person, provide a lot of happiness, peace, and a lot of serenity in a person's mind. It will, when he says, but still will keep a borrower quiet for us. It terms like it will still preserve that sort of silence within us in terms of nothingness. There is no, a point where you feel just numb and you feel the beauty which is around you. Okay, so here he describes about the beauty, the sort of joy, introducing it to his readers per se, and how he believes that the beauty is never going away. It will never fade. It will never be over. So the beauty is something, it's like immortal. It will not die away. So we will find beauty in anything and everything. Okay, so next 4 lines is, I'm still asleep full of sweet dreams and a health and quiet breathing. Therefore, on every morrow we are ending, a flowery band to bind us to the earth. So in the next few lines he says that the beauty will be taken by us when we sleep at night, when we dream about it, when we break up, when we wake up in the morning, and then the health. In our health, it preserves it gives us good health. So you can take an example like जैसे हम लोग अपने अगर हमारी सराउंडिंग सब चीज़ें अच्छी होती है या फिर साफ होता है हमारा सराउंडिंग, तो हमारा हेल्थ भी उससे अच्छा रहता है. आप तभी तो लोग मतलब अपनी वेकेशन के लिए छुट्टियां मनाने के लिए पहाड़ों में जाते हैं या नीचे डाउन साउथ बीचेस में जाते हैं to see beauty around. That also make us feel good and also make us feel healthy about ourselves. It fills us with a lot of joy. So when we sleep at night, that time also we think of beauty. When we wake up, we think of beauty. That time we have dreams in terms of that. So therefore, every morrow we are reading, it kind of binds us with the earth. It kind of binds us with the earth and the nature, the beauty that keeps, because we find beauty in everything. So the next line that corresponds to it, where it says, "Spite of despondence of the inhuman dearth, of noble natures of the gloomy days, of all the unhealthy and over-darkened ways, made for our searching, yes, in spite of all." So, in these lines, he talks about the darkness of the human mind, the darkness of the human nature, the human heart, that is overpowered by beauty. Beauty can overpower anything. So, in those gloomy days also, the noble nature, it says, the nature is so wide, so noble, so serene, pure, that those gloomy days of ours also can be filled with a lot of joy. So all beauty can overpower every of the darkened ways, every of those unhealthy and darkened ways of our own souls and our own lives. And in search of beauty, we can find a lot of peace. And now the beauty, he refers the beauty is with the nature per se. Nature and the beauty, the theme is the central here. So whenever you read, though the entire poem is running on the same sort of theme, same sort of tone where he's appreciating beauty. He's a worshipper of beauty, John Keats. So he's trying to find beauty everywhere, in all the small little things that he can see around him, specifically when it comes to nature, because he's a romantic poet. He is, you can say, he is a contemporary of Shelley and Byron. The P.V. Shelley was also a romantic poet here, and he is the contemporary of them. So they're all he is in the second batch, he comes in second batch, and he writes about nature and the beauty corresponding to it. So when he says that some shape of beauty moves away, the fall, from our dark spirit, such the sun and the moon. So here he says that some shape of beauty which will always be around us, and certain it will never move away, and it will never go up away from our lives, and our life will never empty of those beautiful things around us, be it nature, be it anything. A little photograph, a pen, a leaf, your garden per se, a flowery garden can fill you with a lot of joy and happiness. So there will be from our dark spirits to such the sun and the moon per se, they are all a part of those beautiful nature that God has created for us. So from those dark spirits also we can come out in terms of when we see beauty around us. So in these next lines where he describes where he found beauty, he says that trees old and young, sprouting a shady boon for simple sheep, and such are daffodils, with the green world they live in and clear rills. So in the next lines where he describes about where he finds beauty from, he says few things very in a very conclusive manner, in a very short, and where he talks about how where he finds actually beauty. It's his perspective. We can find beauty in any of our surroundings, with anywhere. So he says, trees old and young, sprouting a shady boon, for simple sheep and rich are daffodils, with the green world they live in and clear rills, that themselves are cooling against the hot, cooling covert make, against the hot season the mid-forest bake, rich with sparkling or fair musk rose blooms, and such too is the grandeur of the dooms. So in the entire, these are heavy lines where he says, in terms of a bunch of lines where he is finding beauty in everything. So the trees who grow old and young, and the sprouting. So from getting old to newborn, from sprouting to decay, everything has its beauty. Because we are mortals. Our life is mortal. Every living being has to die. So he finds beauty in the birth and as well as in the death. So when a tree decays, our body decays, it has beauty of its own. So so forth, the beauty of death is of its own. So where he says, a tree is old and young, sprouting a shady boon. I mean, in fact, that he says that everything grows old and then again new things come up. Like the tree is getting old, but also a plant is planted in the ground. So both of has its own beauty. One is young, one is old. So everything has its own beauty. For a simple sheep and such are daffodils. So here these things are the lines where he says that they are they're all beautiful, and it's like a metaphor. It's like a metaphor in terms which is used like newness, the innocence of sheep and lambs, which is he's talking about, and the beauty of those little daffodils are new, those that they are pure completely, and they're emerging, they're sprouting from the ground, and they provide beauty to the nature, to the human eye. It provides peace to us. We see beauty in terms of nature, in terms of our own surroundings, or whatever we can find beautiful. So then he says, with the green world they live in and clear rills, that for themselves a cooling covert make against the hot season and the mid-forest break. So here he is saying that there is always counter against everything. So if wherever there is gloomy days, there are also spring. There is also they also, with all of these darkness around, there's also a very cooling sort of side given to us in terms of beauty, in terms of nature, in terms of how we see things around us. So he says that in those green world per se, all these mountains, meadows, or these forests, they're all very beautiful in terms of the nature, the wildlife, and everything. It's beautiful, and that's also is a very cooling factor for us. Cooling here, he uses metaphor again, where gives a lot of peace, a lot of serenity to a human mind, a lot of tranquility, and we say. So it's all against the mid-forest break. So he's here appreciating the beauty, is appreciating those greenery around you, the nature. That is how the environment is built around us. How God has actually given nature beauty as a gift to the man, and how he's preserving. In terms of, if at all we preserve, how we are preserving and finding beauty in all those little things. And he says that rich with sparkling of the fair musk rose blooms, and such too is the grandeur of the blooms. So he's like finding beauty in those rose petals, in those sparkle that is created. And there's a grandeur of the blooms. So grandeur is again the rejoicefulness, a grandeur of things, a larger picture in terms of celebration of those blooms that those blooms what is faded away in terms of that. So he sort of compares, he contrasts it in a manner that there are darkness, there is gloominess, there are bad days, there is everything, but then there is also nature to provide us a lot of beauty, a lot of serenity, a lot of peace to our soul and spirit. So he gives in third stanza, the third and fourth stanza per se, he gives all these lines where when he compares those gloomy days and the noble nature, how they provide us, where he also says of the noble nature of the gloomy days. So the noble nature in terms of the beauty of that nature can take us away from all the the running of tiredness of human mind, who's always trapped in a cage and is always working, always running after certain other things to fulfill his satisfaction, or working in terms of everything, to fulfill his needs. But there is also nature to slow him down, to hold him for a moment, and just to be in that moment, to enjoy the nature around you. So enjoy the beauty that is created by nature. There is so many things around us, like we usually tend to forget, or we usually pass by them and ignore them, in terms of we don't even bat an eye towards those things. But here is Keats writing about all those beauties. So imagine how much he has, taken from seen the beauty around him, and very systematically, in a very focused manner, he has written. So yes, he loves the idea of nature, and he loves the idea of beauty that is created around it. So beauty never fades away, and we can find beauty in anything, from birth to death, from decay to preserving something to a new growth. So everything around is beautiful. The innocence, when he talks about the simple sheep, it's the innocence of those lambs and sheep, those animals. They are born, and that's sort of comparing to also a child. So that innocence of the face, the innocence of their souls. So that is there. So that is also very beautiful. In the last line where he says, "We have imagined for the mighty dead all the lovely tales that we have heard or read, and endless fountains of immortal drink pouring onto us from the heavens spring." So in the last line are very beautiful, where he says when he says that there is imagined for the mighty dead, here he refers the great warriors and the legends who have died, and there is beauty in that death also, because the world still remembers them, the great legends who fought for us, who maybe fought for the world around us for a certain good cause, and they're still remembered, they're still in our memories. All the lovely tales that we have read or heard. So in all those stories, novels, and everything, where we have read it, where we have heard them. So, and it has a beauty of their own, has a beauty of their fight, their history, their death, and they are remembered today because of their death, because of their legends, because of their stories that are there. There is beauty around it. So there is beauty also in their death. Like हम बहुत सारे लोगों के कहानियाँ या फिर उनके बारे में कोई नोवेल या फिर कोई किताब पढ़ते हैं, तो बहुत ही बड़े बड़े वॉरियर्स या फिर लेजेंड, जैसे राजा महाराजा, ऐसे बहुत अच्छे लोग जिन लोगों ने बहुत अच्छा किया है लोगों के लिए, सोसाइटी के लिए, या कोई अच्छे काम किए हैं, और जब उनकी डेथ हो जाती है तो उनको लोग याद रखते हैं अपनी मेमोरीज में, उनके बारे में लोग लिखते हैं, लोग उनकी स्टोरीज एक दूसरे को बताते हैं, क्योंकि उनकी डेथ में भी बहुत ब्यूटी थी। ब्यूटी एक टर्म तो सुंदरता, कि वो लोग इतने अच्छे थे कि जब उनकी डेथ भी एक बहुत आज भी रिमेम्बरेंस है। नहीं तो आज हमारी सोसाइटी में ऐसे भी रोज कोई ना कोई जन्म ले रहा है, कोई ना कोई मर रहा है, सबका कोई याद नहीं रखता, मे बी सबके बारे में कोई जानता भी नहीं है। लेकिन वो जो लोग, जो वॉरियर्स, जो लेजेंड्स थे, उनके डेथ को भी रिमेम्बर रखा जाता है, उनके ग्रेट डेथ को। I mean, in terms of they fought for something and they died in a battle. So everybody remembers their death. There was glorious, magnificent death also, in terms of the beauty created around it. So the birth is also not beauty. Just birth is not having a beauty, but death also has its own beauty. The death has its own peace and tranquility. So when he says that an endless fountain of immortal drink, so immortal here again is the beauty, the love of nature, per se the beauty, it keeps on pouring to us from the heaven. So when he says pouring on to us from the heaven's brink, so he's saying that God's most powerful gift given to us is beauty, is finding beauty in everything, the mind, and it also lights up in a certain manner that the world has to, the man who is so busy, who is trapped in the vicious circle of life, in the vicious circle of finding a job, making money, and at a point getting married, having a family, that sort of a life, and then running every time behind certain fulfilling his needs. The man should stop for a while, stop and look around and experience that beauty, and experience it, love it, find beauty around small things. So, there are many artists who work on nature, who, in their paintings, they terms of communicate to their viewers, to their audience, that how they should be close to nature, how they should find beauty in those nature, to stop for a moment and be in that moment and find beauty around you. So anything around you could be beautiful according to Keats. He is focusing on nature because he finds beauty in that innocence, in growing old and growing young, getting young. So those from sprouting to the decay, Shady Boone, he says, to the decay, and he finds beauty in everything. And he says that beauty never passes away. It will never be extinct. It is infinite and it is transient. It will never go away. The transiency doesn't apply. It applies to human life. It doesn't apply to that sort of the idea of beauty which is there. So when you read the poem, it's a little dense poem to be reading at a moment, but remember that the questions that will come will be from the examples that he is talking about by his idea of beauty, or how he has made death as magnificent, how the death of warriors or the death of those mighty people have great sort of importance in our world and whom we read and write, and their death is also very beautiful. The death is beautiful, the decay is beautiful. So all these negative connotations that we have created in terms of decay or death, but also, and that is also important at a point, because if there is a new life being birthed, there also should be death. Then there will be that is how we keep the balance of the nature. Otherwise, if people are getting birth and nobody is dying, so it will be full, and there is no death also, then there is no regeneration, so forth. It goes hand in hand. The person who is born is also supposed to die, so it has beauty in both of them. And then the beauty that he talks about, that is around nature, that we see in our dream when we wake up and when we sleep. It's all around us. We take them back and sleep, and it provides us with good health in terms of beauty, that we are not by seeing that sort of thing, we will not feel lost or sad, but we will feel certain sort of peace whenever we see a lot of greenery, or whenever we see mountains or rivers flowing. Itself, its idea of beauty is created. Itself, it is a lot more beautiful. So this is how the poem ends. Read the poem. It's a little dense, so read it at least twice or thrice to understand where he talks about what. Because in one go, when you read the poem in once, so you will not be able to get the idea, because it has a little repetitive zone. It is talking about beauty. There's a lot of examples here and there. There's a use of lot of metaphor. So a thing of beauty is a joy forever. It's again a metaphor that he's saying. Metaphor in terms of a thing, very metaphor again is something that we compare. We try to like simple sheep, where he takes it to innocence. It's a metaphor. So read it. There's a lot of metaphor. There is okay. So the rhyming scheme of the poem, it's a perfect rhyming scheme. It's AABB, it's AABBCC. It's a complete proper rhyming scheme. Okay, so remember that there will be questions. And when you talk about the tone of the poem, it is a happy poem. It's happy. It is rejoicing the idea of beauty. It's celebration of beauty per se. Because Keats is a worshipper of beauty. Alright, so let's talk about the themes here and there, whatever important, and then we'll move forward to the question answers. So remember the fact that, okay, fine, it's an excerpt from Endymion. Endymion is a Greek poem that is also, you can read about it. It's not first necessary for you to attempt answers in that manner, because it will not be asked. First, if you have time, if you want to go through from where it is taken, so you can read it. It's a Greek poem about love, about beauty again. So you can read it from there, and then it is written, the poem is a part of that. So, okay. So, remember that beauty is an everlasting effect. It's an everlasting effect in the minds and the hearts of the people, in the human life per se. So, beauty is never going to fade. The beauty is never going to become nothing. It is everlasting, it's tranquil, it is regenerating itself. So today what I find beautiful maybe you don't. You have something different idea of beautiful. So see, everybody has a different idea of what beauty is. But there is beauty. The common link between all of us is the idea of beauty, and beauty is there. So beauty, according to everybody of us, could be different, but there is beauty again. So you could find beauty in nature. I could find beauty maybe in birth or death. So yeah, and maybe the other person may not find beauty in death also. But we have idea of beauty. Everybody has different, so that keeps us going. And as soon as even there is more human life is growing, so the idea of beauty is also growing. So everything is beauty. So it's everlasting. And then it has imprints on our mind. Everlasting beauty has imprints on our mind. Then lambs and sheep. Remember the lambs and sheep, which is used as metaphor of innocence. So there will be questions on this, basically taking a line and then asking you. So remember the metaphor here. Mighty men, again a metaphor used for great warriors and legends who have died, right, symbolizing a magnificent death. So their death is very beautiful because of their death we read. There is written about it, we read, we hear them from people. So there is a history behind it. That history is also beautiful. Remember that. Then remember the idea of beauty to be the utmost. He's a worshipper of beauty. Beauty gives us happiness. So beauty gives us happiness. Beauty gives us peace, tranquility, serenity, everything you can write. Okay. So peace, then anything you forward you can, tranquility, serenity, joy, per se also, as the poet says, it's a joy forever. Then beauty, he says at the end when he writes that pouring an endless fountain of immortal drink, pouring unto us from the heaven's spring. So these two lines technically mean that God's greatest gift to us is beauty. It's an immortal thing. It's an immortal drink in terms that it will never fade away. It will never die. Beauty per se will never die. Finding beauty in small things will never die, never fade away. It will never get extinct. And it is given to us by the God. God has given us that sort of a feeling that we can find beauty in things. The beauty here again becomes a metaphor of anything. That anything will be could be a thing of beauty for us, which will give us joy. So when we do certain things that give us joy, like our hobbies per se, painting can give joy to people. Dancing can give joy. It has its own beauty. Again, here Keith is focusing on the nature, but yeah, everything of us is beauty, and the idea of beauty changes. The idea of beauty changes, and the beauty keeps on going. It keeps passing on, but it never fades away. It never stops. Alright, so it's like everlasting gift for us. It is a perennial source of motivation for us. Finding beauty is very motivating, per se. You can find beauty in anything. To find beauty is also a sort of motivation, in search of beauty. Okay, in search of that beauty of nature. People go and travel around the earth to all these distinct virgin territories where nobody has, gone and disrupted a human life, or there is not sort of a urbanization done. So it's close to nature. So that sort of beauty is being created. Alright, so people go there and find beauty in all those nature, in those environments, the nature, the meadows, the mountains, the rivers. Anything could be beautiful. So it's a perennial source of motivation. People also go there to just find peace, so that they take a break from their hustle of life. They go to those vacations to enjoy those beauty of nature, and they come back with a fresh start, with motivated mind to go forward with their life. So yeah, so keep this idea in mind. Then remember, when you answer the questions, always remember to write the name of the chapter as well as the name of the poet. Okay, so because when you write both of the names, it carries 1 mark, and it also gives the impression on the examiner, that whosoever is checking, that you know the poem and you know about Keats. So also mention that he is a romantic poet. Okay, that he's a worshipper of beauty. He's a romantic poet. Explain the word romantic. explain the word romantic, be the lover of nature, person who worships nature. But here, also remember, in this poem, he worships the idea of beauty. He is a worshipper of beauty. He finds beauty in everything. So remember that fact. Also, there will be questions. See, there will not be long questions per se to describe, but if there is, you can talk about the entire poem, summing it up, giving examples from the first line where he says, from the first, second, third almost line where he says that it will not pass away. It will never pass into nothingness. It will also keep growing. Then from the trees old and young, from this for the simple sheep. So give these examples. You can actually conjoin the idea of beauty. So in per, you can also be asked like 4 lines and then questions related to those lines. Okay, so read the poem probably twice or thrice to understand. I think more times per se also, because it's a long poem. It's not a short poem. It's a long poem. It has a lot of metaphors. Also, to understand here and there metaphors, then every line has a meaning to it. Okay, so from all of unhealthy and over darkened ways, made the searching. Yes, in spite of all, some shape of beauty moves away the fall from our dark spirits and such sun and moon. So there is all these lines also talk about the darkness of the human mind, talk about the darkness of the spirit per se, or the gloomy days. So, and to counter this, there is also nature that is providing us a lot of happiness. So there can be questions in terms of all of these. Alright, and then remember that you have to write the name of the poem and the poet. So it has a repetitive sort of tone because it holds the idea of beauty everywhere. Okay, remember that. And you will be able to answer this question. You have to read it at least twice, thrice times and understand by line. So remember the central theme, the idea, the worshipper of beauty, Keats, as well as the God's gift to us as the beauty. And remember these things, it's everlasting, it's it gives a lot of happiness and joy to human minds. So remember this and you will be able to answer the question.